as we're told, was not fit for purpose, and that they had poor sanitation, air quality issues were also raised. And then the KNUST student decided that we can't take this anymore. We've heard about the nukes petition, but we need to protest. So they hit the streets to protest, raising all the issues that I've just put out already, and saying basically that the private hostels were exploiting them. So I decided to do some checks. When we begin now to look at one of the complaints, the students were clear that now you have to pay far more for accommodation than for fees. You are going to school primarily to get educated. And then here you are, you have this irony where it's costing you far more to pay for accommodation than to actually get educated. And the students found that quite absurd. And so I wanted to check the numbers, and it's true, because I look at academic fees at KNUST, for example, where the students went on a protest. The lowest amount you can pay, a student can pay, there's a lower band, is 2,710. At least that's what we found from KNUST. And then you then look at private hostels. One particular case, and they advertise their rates online, is the Brunei hostel. And they were advertising for a year, you pay 6,194 cedis. That gap there is very huge. And so parents were asking the same question, students were asking the same question, why am I paying more to simply get you to stay in a place and far less to actually educate? Because I'm spending money here, more here and not there. So something is very, very wrong. And then we needed to expand this conversation a bit more. We wanted to look at the trend when it comes to the increases. Are the students right? Do they have any basis, any justification for these concerns? And is the rent control right to crack down? So we looked at pricing, hostel pricing for Ghana Hostel Limited, and they provide one of the biggest players in that space. And they advertise their pricing every academic year because sometimes they review it. So we just looked at the pricing that they've advertised, the Ghana Hostels Limited, in the last 4 years for academic calendars. And the picture here is fascinating. It's just jaw-dropping. Just in 2022-2023 academic year, you're paying 1,800 cedis at the lower end for a hostel for a year. 4 years later, in fact, 3 years later, 3 academic years later, it's now jumped to 7,492 cedis. That is more than 300% increase. And if you draw the line, it's a steep curve. It's almost like a cliff. It's just incomparable what it used to be, 1,800, to what it is now, 7,492 for a year. That clearly is a problem. Something is horribly wrong, because even from the 2022-2023 academic year to 2023-2024 academic year alone, it went from 1,800 to almost 5,000. I guess the core now is somebody must regulate the space. But should you? Because this is a capitalist society. The demand and supply must determine the price of this particular good. But some say, well, you can't do that. You need to, because we're talking about students. Education is a public good as well. And so if they're providing service to that community, then somebody must regulate this. But there's a very strong case too, because if you look at some of the hostels, they provide far more than you can find in, say, the state-sponsored accommodation campus. You have, TV rooms with DSTV, etc. And the more of this you have, the higher the cost. So this is probably going to be even more. I'm going to pay 15,000 in the region for more, if you like, luxury items in there. But this is, for me, the big picture, right? Because the problem we are talking about feeds into what we all know is a problem we haven't fixed as a country. This problem with the housing deficit of 1.8 million. And I believe this is grossly understated, by the way. And so the students who are in school, that housing deficit that they're experiencing with the hostels is a subset of this bigger problem. And then you have 711,695, according to G Tech, the number of tertiary students, current student population that we have just for the 2022-2023 academic year. By the way, just go back. So if you look now, this number is way possibly in the region of 1 million already, right? And then you're talking about 1.6, 1.8 million units that are in deficit population-wide. What will happen is the demand will far outstrip supply when it comes to hostels. And when that happens in any economy, prices will just skyrocket. So it is just the factors of demand and supply dictating the sort of prices that the private hostels are charging. But the question then is, are they exploiting this situation and putting untold hardship, imposing it, inflicting it on parents and students? Let's talk about that. And so what is the solution? The solution is just to make sure that we have increased accommodation for students, because the more accommodation there is, the less they can charge. Because if the demand, the supply tend to outstrip or even matches the demand, you cannot be charging these astronomical prices. So fundamentally, we must deal with it at the base of it. Other than just closing down universities, you have to factor in the cost that they run in the private hostels. So there's a very complex matter here, not just a simple case of the exploiting and the prices are up. You have to deal with a bigger issue, dealing with the high housing deficit, deal with the deficit when it comes to housing and hostels for students. If you deal with that, prices will fall naturally. It's just a natural consequence of the economic forces. So you also have here the private hostels. They are objecting to this crackdown. They have a private facility they are running, they're spending money. Why do you want to dictate to them how to set price? This is not a communist society. They are making the point, basically. So they are fighting back. And so there's a huge fight that has erupted in this. But over time, government has been trying and saying a lot of things about fixing the problem. And nothing really has happened, right? Interventions. The government signed, for example, 10,000 bed hostel facility at the University of Ghana. I don't know where this is reached now. Maybe over time we made some progress, but it's not enough. The Ministry of Education has formed a committee to curb hostel prices. Is that the solution? To curb private men from doing business and charging going rates? My guests will join me. Let's have that big conversation together after this.
Corporate Ghana, are you ready? The biggest gathering of Corporate Ghana is back. It's time for the Joy Sports Invitational 2026, where competition meets networking, fun meets fitness, and champions are made. Battle it out in football. Take your shot in the thrilling CEO penalty shootout. Test your speed in the lime and spoon race. Laugh your way through the unisex sack race. Pull together in the tug of peace. Show your accuracy in the female penalty shootout. Flex your strength in the arm wrestling and enjoy many more exciting activities. Join us on Saturday, 29th August 2026 at the University of Ghana Stadium. We kick off the day with a high-energy aerobic session from 6 a.m. So come early, warm up, and get ready for an unforgettable day. Ready to register? Call or WhatsApp Slevin on 0242-376445. The Joy Sports Invitational Tournament 2026 is proudly sponsored by Toyota, Superior Quality, Minerals Commission, the regulator of the mining industry in Ghana. Ayuda, Ghana's #1 services app, Abako, Services Bibri, Latex Foam, your partner for life, Copia Leasing, Renting and Maintenance Services, Virtual Security Africa, Complete Security Solutions. Joy Sports Invitational 2026. Let's compete, connect, and celebrate the true spirit of Corporate Ghana.
That's right. Did you see that? That is me. Without me, that tap would just be decoration.
That's so. So when the water comes, where exactly is it waiting? Pipe. I also didn't see any bedroom no. Me tank. Me na me kura.
At least I move water.
And I keep it safe.
Without me, nothing flows.
What's happening?
I bring the life.
I preserve it.
Hey, why is the water going on and off like this? Maybe I can do it alone.
Maybe I need you too.
It's true. Strong, reliable, built for every home. Syntex pipes and tanks, the perfect water team. Syntex, are you strong? Are you tough?
Hello, my name is Pamela from customer service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabadim.
Madam, give me the numbers behind your ATM card. I'm calling from the head office.
An email was delivered across to our customers this morning.
Confirm if this is your bank account 100,100,100.
Thanks for sending your bank card details.
Send the OTP now to avoid cancellation.
EcoBank will never call, email, send an SMS asking for your PIN, OTP, bank card, or Ghana card details.
Don't get played. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Hello, please, I'm calling from Customer Experience Center.
It's admission time for the 2026-27 academic year, and St. Andrew's Group of Schools is calling on all JHS graduates and those who want to rewrite the WASSCE exam. Over the years, St. Andrew's Group of Schools has been the #1 best private school in Ghana, with excellent teaching staff and ultra-modern facilities that provide students with perfect environments for study. Wherever you are, there's a campus waiting for you. Choose your preferred school from the list and start your journey to success today. We are also open for SHS students who wish to change their schools. Here at St. Andrew's Group of Schools, students never fail. St. Andrew's Group of Schools has been absorbed into the free SHS program, offering quality education with free tuition. At St. Andrew's Group of Schools, we say perseverance leads to success.
Palladium Residences in Achimota isn't just an address, it's the home you truly earned. Secure your place with just a 10% deposit and choose from beautifully designed modern apartments or spacious townhouses built for everyday comfort. This is more than a building. It's a vibrant, curated community with a clubhouse, state-of-the-art gym, and an on-site hotel, all at ABC Junction, minutes from Achimota Mall. Enjoy city energy while retreating to your private sanctuary. Call now to reserve your unit and benefit from limited launch incentives, including priority unit selection, executive pricing, and flexible payment options available. Don't miss the chance to pick the best homes. Book your private site visit today. Call 050-9823-424. Palladium Residences. Live smart, invest better. Upgrade your print game with Konica Minolta, proudly powered by SkySat Technologies. From all-in-one machines that print, scan, and copy to professional systems and heavy-duty production machines, we deliver unmatched performance. Right now, SkySat has an unbeatable offer. 1 entire year of free servicing on all Konica Minolta machines. That's 12 months of expert maintenance for new and existing customers. Visit our new VIP Print Center at Pegasus Place, Airport Residential Area for a live demonstration. Call us on 050-164-5180 or 0302-798-829. Again, it's 050-164-5180 or 0302-798-829. SkySat Technologies. Performance that delivers every time.
Very much for staying with us here on PM Express. It's always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter Toothpaste, Stambik CIB Impact Series. And if you're looking for a good school for your ward, you're looking for St. Andrew's Group of Schools. If you're looking for a water tank to store water tonight that is durable, you're looking for Syntex Tanks because it is strong, it is tough. Look for them and look for that tortoise symbol, and that should be your guarantee of durability. And tonight before you sleep, use a Pepsodent Cavity Fighter toothpaste because the surest way to guarantee fresher breath, but also gums that are healthy for longer. Find it, get it, use it before you sleep. Now, some see challenges, but they will see only opportunities. At the Stambik Corporate and Investment Banking, they partner with businesses to drive Ghana and Africa's growth. Call them on 030-281-5789 or go onto their website, stambikbank.ghana.gh. Looking for a school for your ward, St. Andrew's Group of Schools is what I recommend. You want to look for them across the country. Admissions are currently in progress for the 2026-2027 academic year for SHS 1, 2, 3 on all campuses at St. Richard's SHS in Asimfosu, St. Luke's at Mankasim, St. Benedict's at Sefi, Asawenso. You have the Lighthouse SHS New Dubiase. You have Mount Hebron College at Dunkwa and Ofen. You have Gold Gate SHS at Shama in Takrade. You have St. Andrews in Teshi in Accra. All schools are part of the government-free SHS program, and so you would not lose a thing when it comes to that great policy. My guests are joining me in the studio for a conversation tonight. Bishop Dr. Akwesi Owusubi is the chairman, KNUST Hostel Owners Association. Sami Amegaibo is executive secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Executive director, I'm grateful. And he joins us because this conversation, as I said, is not just about hostels. It's a bigger conversation about the housing deficit we've been talking about, which is a subset of this problem. Let's look at it more broadly. Frederick Opoku is the rent commissioner of Ghana, and Kofi Asare is executive director of the Africa Education Watch. He's written a piece about this. It's fascinating. Look for their website, and I'm pretty sure you can find it there. Rashid Ibrahim is in the studio with me. He's the president of the National Union of Ghana Students, and they sent the petition. Rashid, let me start with you. So you sent your petition. Did you receive a formal reply?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so that was favorable from what I understand. The rent control office wanted to do something about it. So you started this whole conversation.
We started the whole
What was the problem?
So, the issue about rent is that this is not the first time we've experienced this. The past years, we've been experiencing the issue of rent with regards to students' accommodation. But we've not had leaders who would actually stand on their grounds to fight this. So when I assumed office, I thought of the fact that we have an act that governs rent in the country. And reading the act by section 36 of the act, I know that hostels also forms part of premises that are being regulated by the rent control. So I decided together with my able executives, petitioned the rent commissioner to act because the complaint that we've been receiving from schools in Takwa, UMAT, KNUST, University of Ghana, UPSA, Wisconsin, UDS, a whole lot. The schools are just many. They were just bringing in petitions that we should act. So I quickly submitted a petition to the rent commissioner that he should act. And when I submitted, most people were saying that, and in the Akan language, it wouldn't end anywhere. And let me appreciate the rent commissioner, Mr. Frederick Opoku, for the good works that he is doing. I, on behalf of the Ghanaian students, would like to greatly appreciate him for the work that he is doing. But for him, we wouldn't have seen that our wards, our children are in school, living in a very bad condition. But for him, we've been able to expose all of that. So we thank him for the good works that he is doing as well. And then the work that he's doing, Ghanaian students appreciate that. So the government should offer him the needed support to continue to fight for the students.
What were the specifics beyond just, was it just a price problem?
So the price is largely has to do with the pricing and also the service, the quality of service that is even being delivered.
So you're paying exorbitant rent?
Yes.
But also the quality of service is poor. That's basically
that is the issue.
Okay.
That is the main issue, right? Sometimes there are no renovation, but the following year they will tell you that we are increasing the hostel fee by 500,000
no
Ghana.
value has been added to
Nothing has been added.
building.
So they are unable to provide justification for the increase.
But they will be obviously be paying electricity, water, which obviously increases year.
Nowadays, most of the hostels are even, the students themselves pay for all those things. Maintenance fee, they pay for maintenance fees. And then the bad aspect of this is that they will give the excuse that the students actually mess up the place. So they need money to maintain the place. But most of the hostels, they pay maintenance fees. And the condition they give is that if you don't spoil anything there, your money will be given back to you. But the semester will end, the money will not be given back to you. I've had numerous issues whereby students have called me that this year we've paid for maintenance fees, nothing spoiled in my room, yet they refuse to return those monies to me. So these are the issues that are generally affecting the Ghanaian students in the various hostels in the country.
And is this limited to the urban areas, the big cities, or basically everywhere you have a tertiary institution, you're having hostels exploiting students and not giving them good service?
It's everywhere. Even it will surprise you to know that if you go to a place like UHAS, that is the same thing that they are doing. You would think that it's only Accra and Kumasi that is happening. No, go to a place like Takwa, UMAT. It is happening there. A place like Winneba, UCC, all of them. That is what is happening there. So the issue or the problem cut across is not only the tertiary institutions in Greater Accra, but the tertiary institutions outside Greater Accra, northern region and other regions. All of them have been affected.
The rent commissioner who acted on your petition joins us. Frederick Opoku, thanks for agreeing to speak to us. I understand that after this petition, you started inspections. What did you discover?
Oh, very well. Let me say a very good evening to the viewers and everybody. Unfortunately, I'm traveling, still coming to Accra, so you wouldn't see me well, so forgive me. Yes, yes. I received a petition from Nukes, as Rashid has put it, and I thought I needed to be fair because I'm more or less like a referee, and that I shouldn't show any kind of bias anywhere. So when I received the petition, I advised myself to move to the ground and see if what the complaint they gave me was the reflection of what is happening. Evans, your case may be good as mine. When I just started the viewing on the grounds, it was shocking, honestly. And I was wondering what the issue was. And you realize that the conditions, ventilation, nothing. And I was wondering, were they even licensed at all? Are they monitored at all? And what have you? Because I was a bit scandalized to see young people in rooms, in cubicles. I don't think it's what it's about hostel. These are cubicles, not hostels. Then dividing room, 4 in a room, 3 in a room, 6 in a room, like prison. So I went round all the universities almost, and the issue was the same. So what I can say is that the state of our children, our young people in this school, in these campuses, that they call hostel, is something that needs to be looked at again. Because Evans, it is appalling. Evans, it is shocking. Evans, it is a killer. And we cannot, as a government, sit down for such behaviors to perpetuate under the guise of we are investors. And for me, Evans, it's a shame. And that we must really look at it again.
So you confirm that 2 things. One, the services were poor, but what about the complaint about price and the rent that was being charged?
You see, that is why I was trying. Let me use this opportunity to, first of all, state it clearly, the thin line between the responsibility of Ghana Tourism Authority and rent control. Now, Ghana Tourism Authority, when it goes about regulating, it is that they stop at one person's back. Now, if you look at it clearly, the responsibility of Ghana Tourism Authority is to look at the situation, how you manage the place. They monitor to see that you are up to standard, and that if you are not, or you fall below standard, they can close you down. That is where they are limited, and they license you. Apart from that, as to how much you ask, you add. You see, how much you add, how much you charge. Even in the first time, if you put the hostel up, You are not supposed to sit and be telling us how much you want to charge. Because Ghana is a country of laws. And we expect that investors and operators are not operating in vacuum. And they should not be thinking that because they have investors or they borrow money, they begin to use economic jargons of demand and supply. I agree. I also told myself with it. But Ghana is a country of laws, and people ought to respect the laws of the republic. If not, then we are graduating to become a lawless country. And Ghana cannot be there and thinking that all the time we should use it. Look, you go to the hostel, Evans, the students are packed like sardines. And they might be honest to themselves. For me, it's a shame to the states at this point in time. They are packed like sardines. No ventilation. No.
Okay. He already told us he's going to try. He's traveling, so the connection may not be good. So let's try and re-establish a connection with him. But I think he's made the point about what they found. I wanted him to explain to me a bit more the picture when it comes to the pricing, and we would get him to do that. Frederick, can you hear me? We lost you briefly. Obviously, we know we are traveling, so the network isn't great. So give me a good sense of the rent that you also had to sort of deal with when you went to visit. What were the students telling you? How much on the average were they being charged? And were they being charged beyond the 6 months that the law, within the 6 months or beyond it, as far as the legal arrangement is concerned? What did you find as far as that is concerned? Hello, Frederick? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Yes, somehow. Yeah, so Evans, honestly speaking, we know that we have typically 2 semesters. That is 4 months, which is 8 months. But they say academic year, in our local parlance, a year is a year as a tenant. It's 12 months. So if a student pays academic year, now when they are living and they are living, it's expected that their items should be left in their rooms so that they can come next day and come and continue. Now they are running the place like a hotel. They are playing like a hotel. When the time they will just get them out. And when they are coming, they say that they will have sandwich programs and so forth and so on and get them out. And for me and for us, this is where the matter lies. The point is that typically in a year, they have 8 months. Then when they spend the 8 months, so you see academic year is not 12 months to them. You see 4 in a room, each paying 5,000, 6,500. So in a typical normal, less than a normal room, they are taking 20,000, 18,000, 24,000, to some 30,000. Evans, take good 1,000. Even East Legon, the best place here in Accra, you will not even get that single room 30,000. So if you talk about exploitation, what is the parameters? What end did they use to build their property that they must charge one room 30,000? In any case, we are saying that we cannot use our eye to say it is high or low, but each and every one of them is responsible to come in for their property to be assessed. But you realize that they say they are not even under rent control and that they work under the Ghana Tourism Authority. And that is not funded in law. Now, I'm saying that apart from getting them the license, monitoring to see that everything is done, as to how much they charge, it is not within their purview to do that. And that they must all come to be assessed. The law says clearly, the landlord can make an application, the tenant can make an application, and an interested party. In this case, Luz was then an interested party, and they made an application. Therefore, if they were very honest to themselves, why are they running to be assessed? Because you say that you went for loan. It is this. It's agreed. Nobody dispute that. What makes you think that if you avail yourself to be assessed, we cannot come to a point where we understand the cost that you have incurred, because we don't want to do anything to the incentivized view. But why are they not coming for assessment? Can you ask them? I want to understand clearly here.
Okay, stay with me.
And the law states in section 36, section 1, that we have those who are exempted. And hostel facilities are not exempted.
So the point of the assessment is for you to determine whether the rent they are charging is justified.
Exactly, because the law prescribes certain things that you must consider when assessing. Now, there is a clear difference between valuation to sell and assessment to continue to take rents. This is what they are not getting right. If you do assessment or valuation, I'm selling it, it goes out of you, no ownership again. But here, we assess you based on the land on which the property is situated. If you say the land is expensive from East Legon, how much was it? Bring it. How often do you do maintenance? Bring it, let us see. You are going for loan, bring it, let us see. We will take all this into consideration and ensure that we are able to sit down with you and the tenant and we protect both of you. Why are they running to be assessed?
Okay.
What the law says that they are supposed to be assessed.
Frederick, please stay with me. Let me bring in Ms. Amega-Ebo. Ms. Amega-Ebo, I'm waiting to hear from the Hostels Association themselves. They'll join us pretty shortly. But you are in the real estate, business. You are the executive secretary with the grader, so you have some insight into this. Listen to both sides here. What's your take on the controversy? Right, the students have an issue. The hostels believe that what they are doing is fair. What's the problem here?
I think they have a genuine concern. Okay. I'm a parent, and so I know about these hostel issues. Yeah. Every semester, I'm giving invoices, and sometimes I'm like, wow, what's happening? Yeah. And like the information you shared on the increments over the period of time, it's a very serious concern. Mm-hmm. It is also the fact that I'm also in the business of providing accommodation. Okay. So I'm also.
You have hostels?
No, I don't have hostels. Yes, okay. But I also have a fair idea of what goes into property development and what it costs to maintain. And so I think both sides have very genuine concerns. So we must have a middle point to make sure that these hostels are made available for people. Hostels are considered educational infrastructure, and ideally it should be provided by the state. But we can also attest to the fact that the state is unable to provide adequately, and so the private sector has taken that mantle. And so we must appreciate where the private sector also comes from and the kind of costs that they are saddled with in making these accommodations available. However, my very own concern also had to do with the quality of some of the facilities that are being provided for. And that one is of a very serious situation.
Which is what the rent commissioner is talking
about. And I think the petition from the student union also spells it out. I mean, you cannot expect people to live in some deplorable condition and yet they pay so much. It doesn't work. And I was just wondering why if we want to bring some regulation, then the regulation must tackle the aspect of the quality and the service that they provide. And so even before we came into the studio, I was just telling him that I think that we could look at classifying hotels just like hotels are done. That they say this is a 5-star hotel, it's a 2-star hotel, and so
you know what to expect.
You know what to expect.
But also, it sort of objectively sets a price for you. You have a price range.
Exactly. So that when you pay for a 1-star hostel, you know what to expect. If you pay for a 5-star hostel, then you know what to expect. So that we don't lump everything together. But
isn't the case
people are overpricing?
That the pricing determines the quality of service you get? I'm assuming, right?
Yes,
Because if some hostels can charge you up to $15,000 a year, and then some can charge you as low as I said, 5,000 in the lower band. So of course, if the guy paying 15,000 can expect to have, air conditioning, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how much you pay in correlation to the service from your experience.
No, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters.
It should.
And so, I mean, if you check the prices, you realize that those that are paying those quantum of 15,000, they are enjoying some facilities. Yeah. But when you come down below, you realize that there's that situation where somebody is paying maybe 5,000 in a particular hostel. He enjoys a very good ambience, not air conditioning, but the quality of the service is good. You pay another 5,000 in another hostel where the bathroom facilities, the beds, I mean, it's also terrible. And so I think that is where we need to fix and make sure that this thing is worked out such that the private investors also are able to recoup. And then sometimes the cost involved, the cost of borrowing. It is just recently that we have seen interest rates in borrowing coming a bit low. But we've been borrowing over 30%. I mean, you've been hosting a lot of people here when they're telling you the difficulties they go through and the cost involved in putting this infrastructure, saddled with the interest rate and how much you have to pay back and how long it takes you to recoup your investment. My brother, it's not a joke. We have they have designed some modeling data systems where you put in certain information about the facility, the cost inputs, projection of rent income and all that. You put them in and you are looking at 32, 35 years to recoup your investment. And where we have a country where interest rates is hovering where it's hovering, Charlie, it's not easy. So sometimes the developer or the hostel provider have very genuine concern. But I agree that the bit that I think they must do something very seriously with is the quality and the service that they provide, which sometimes for me doesn't match how much they are charging for the service.
Will you then be okay if the service is good but price is high? You're fine with that?
I think so. You see, the states, we've been going through this. The same situation with the challenges with our deficits in accommodation. Yeah. And then you realize that the private sector is doing its best, putting two and two together to try and put accommodation on the market. Go around and check how much private estate developers have been able to develop certain units, a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom, and the kind of pricing they have put on those. Go back to the same government where they have access to land much easier. They import or they have access to other freebies, and yet you see that the pricing from the state sometimes does not even match the pricing of the developer. It all has to do with accommodation. I'm just trying to bring your mind to how difficult it is to put this housing together. So I agree, there must be some kind of justification for what the hostel facility owners are demanding. But that is where we need to find a balance.
Okay. And I'll bring in Bishop Dr. Kwesi Owusu be very quickly because he's a chairman of KNUC Hostel Owners Association. But there's a point that you made that I want to run by the NUC's president, Rashid. The point about, you talked about pricing, you talked about service. And Mr. Megaba makes the point, if the service quality is good, you don't mind paying more.
Okay. I think the rent commissioner made certain assessment. He made a statement that it is assessment that will bring up all this. If you look at Section 14 of the Act, it talks about matters to take into consideration when making the assessments. So when my father here spoke about the categorization of the hostels, I do not agree with that entirely, because during the assessment, it will be able to come out, or it will come out that you have an interest rate of maybe 30% that you must recoup your investment. All this will come in the assessment. So the categorization is not actually necessary. But what we are saying is that there must be an independent person to do an assessment with the pricing. Because if you leave the pricing in the hands of only the developer is likely to abuse that. So the law actually stipulates...
Your primary objective is
to make profit. Yeah. So there must be a third party who has no interest in it, a non-interested party who will come in to make the assessment.
So what you want is, it's okay to make reasonable profit, not exploit.
Yes. Not that excessive.
You think that you have been exploited now? Students have been exploited?
We think so, because I have a hostel here from Central University. Mm-hmm. It is called Jeffrey Homestel. Last year, they were charging 6,000 Ghana cedis.
For a year?
Yes. And this year, the owner has increased it to about 14,000 Ghana cedis for them to pay. So you would ask yourself, what actually went on? We need
to be careful if you are quoting this for the same unit.
This information was given to me by the students themselves.
So it could be 6,000 for a particular unit, and it's included 14,000 for a different unit. I mean, not necessarily the 1-bedroom.
This is information. The information provided here, accurate information.
I'm just adding that caveat because these things happen to me all the time. The owners of the property will call and say that 14,000 is not for the chamber
standard
standard one, and that is for the
This is the information I received from
the hostel room.
The issue is that we cannot leave the pricing in the hands of the developers alone. Mm-hmm. That is why the law stipulates that the rent commissioner must come in to make that assessment, right? So we think that whether the quality is high or the quality is low, the assessment must be made by an independent person so that we can have a fair pricing where the students and also the private developer will also benefit. Yeah. We appreciate the work that the private sector is doing. Mm-hmm. That we appreciate that greatly because the government alone cannot do it, right? So they coming in to help salvage the situation. It's cool. We are good with that. But it must not be at the expense of the students. And the students will not pay the money.
But it's simple. It's a private man's business. If you can't afford it, leave.
But if you say that, well, I do not agree with that entirely.
Why?
Right?
It's a private business.
It is a private business. I agree.
I'm renting it. You can't afford it. What's the problem? Leave.
That is why the law provides that sector must be regulated. So always they make the assertion that the rent is something that falls under a free market economy. If you read the long title of the act, it said an act to control rent in the country because the law actually anticipated that if you leave it in the hands of the private person, he's likely to abuse it. So let's actually bring up a mechanism that can regulate how pricing is even set, right? And even if you read the law, even the rent magistrate, the tenancy agreement that is signed between the tenant and the landlord, the rent magistrate is not allowed to even review those tenancy agreements, but the recoverable rent. Because if you leave everything in the hands of the private person, he will abuse it. So here, an independent person must come in to make the assessment so that you have a fair pricing.
Okay, stay with me. Let me bring in the bishop, who obviously has been very instrumental with the hostels, Bishop Dr. Kwesi-Owusu. He is the chairman of the KNUST Hostel Owners Association, and the students there protested recently. Bishop, why are your hostels exploiting the students and also giving them poor service while exploiting them?
Thank you. That is my concern for now, especially as the rent commissioner said he went to some hotels and the students were packed like sardines. It's so, I don't know. If students are packed like sardines and their parents come to see that and they approve of their being there, I mean, what is it? Come to KNUST here. We have hotels in category. The university has made sure of that. And so rents are fixed with the university. So if he says we are exploiting them, then it means the university is conniving with private people to exploit students. I beg to differ. You see, I'm so sad at what the rent commissioner is saying. Go to the hotel and the facilities are not up to date and the facilities are appalling and all those things. Please, let us be honest with ourselves. The estate developer, he made certain points. You see, and Ghana is a free economy. Now, you are in this hotel, you think the facilities are not good. As you rightly made a point, why don't you leave and go to where the facilities are better and the rates are okay with you, your pocket can meet it. The point is, every hotel in this KNUST enclave, I cannot talk for other enclaves, but I can talk for the KNUST enclave. Every hotel is registered with GTA, Ghana Tourism Authority. Every year, the DOSA is the Directorate of Student Affairs. They are responsible for accommodation on campus. They meet with hostel operators, executives, SRC, MCEs in the enclave, and then fire service, police representatives to go through all the facilities. Even if they find there is no CCTV, they will make sure you replace it. So I'm at a loss at what charges they are putting on the hotels. Anyway, when we fix the prices, every year, no hotel is permitted to increase the price beyond a certain margin agreed by this committee.
And by the way, as far as price is concerned, how do you determine the price? Because the evidence from Nooks is 1 year you haven't done anything to the hostel, to the room, and yet the price is going up. Why? How do you come to that conclusion? Well, what are the factors, objective factors used in determining how much increase you should place on as far as rent is concerned?
Yes. Every year, in student life, before they leave the rooms, the WCs are choked, the walls are dirty, a whole lot of maintenance that people have to do. I heard the student rep there saying they pay some money for maintenance, and when they are going and nothing has been broken in the hotel, they don't give up. They are not refunded the money they paid. The point is, every hotel, we make agreements with them. You pay this maintenance charges. If you don't destroy anything, everything is refunded to you. If you destroy certain things, you have to replace, and sometimes, and many times, the cost of replacement is far in excess of what the student paid. But that is not it. The point is, every year you have to paint your facility. They break up so many things in the hostels. They destroy so many things. You have to refix them. And you know, prices have been going up every time in this nation. So every year you incur higher costs. And if you are not lucky enough to produce the money yourself, you have to go to the bank.
I mean, but that is a price determined by maintenance costs. But you've also you've admitted that you charge the students separately for maintenance. So why don't you simply use the maintenance fee that you collect from the students to simply do the maintenance?
Sometimes this maintenance thing we are talking about is just to deter them from destroying things. In my hotel, for instance, it's 100 cities. Now, they break the lock, they misplace the keys, they break the lock when they are going, or even when they report it to you, you have to replace it. You have to replace fans. You have to replace broken loopers, a whole lot of things.
But isn't that what they call fair wear and tear? I mean, in all tenancy agreements is in there. I mean, doesn't that qualify?
Yeah. So in our case, it doesn't ever happen that a student is living and nothing is broken or nothing is destroyed. But even that, you have to paint the room for another person to occupy. And that increases your costs. So the university takes all this into consideration before we are allowed to increase by a small percentage. So it's not like we set arbitrary prices. I think 3 years ago, there was this agitation on campus, and the government set up a committee to consider the cost build-up to see if the charges the hostels are making are reasonable. When the SRC was present, MCs were involved, as I already said. When we came up with the actual cost, we realized that it's far in excess to what we are charging.
In other words, you should have been charging the students more than you were charging them.
Sometimes, yes. But you see, one point is, go to a hostel, come and you make the expecting before you pay. Now, the person comes, he or she sees the facilities, I'll come back. He or she goes to another facility, then there's the fridge in the room, there's air conditioner in the room, there's this and that and that. Oh, this is a boarding hotel. So they prefer that. Now, there are certain facilities, and in fact, in my own hostel, I have 3 different facilities. The one which has a big space, everything inside is 5,000 cities.
5,000 a year?
A year, yes. You see, this is why I'm saying some of these things they are saying. If they can sit face to face with us and they can come and inspect some of the hotels, I can't talk for hotels in other areas, but I can talk for hotels in Kumasi here. It's very competitive. If you don't produce a high quality hotel, nobody can. In my facility, for instance, the 2-in-1 is 5,000. We have another 2-in-1 that goes for 4,000, and the 3-in-1 that goes for 3,000. You see, you can't go to a 4-in-1. It crowds the students. So it's up to 3-in-1. And the man is saying we pack them like sardines. I mean, I'm a reverend minister. I was a lecturer at the KDU campus. How can I pack students in a room like sardines? And the students will accept that and stay there for 2-3 years before they leave the university.
So you in your case, for example, you say you charge 5,000. So the most expensive rent in your place will be what? How much?
In my hotel is 5,000.
5,000. Okay. What was it? What was it? Go on.
Sorry.
What was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago it was 4,500.
Okay, so in 2 years you've increased it by only 500 cedis.
Yes.
That sounds reasonable. Except that, well, I'll ask the students. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Except that. The evidence elsewhere shows a completely different story. So that maybe is you. But if you're looking at broadly the hostel space, I have here the Ghana Hostel Limited. And in the 2022-2023 academic year, they advertised 1,800 for the lower end of the hostel, right? In the 2025-2026 academic year, it is now 7,492. That is more than 300% increase.
Yes. Sometimes we ourselves will hear some of the hotel prices and, we are not happy with it. Okay. But then it's a free economy. So we advise the students, scout around, see which hotel, the facilities are good to your taste, and then the price meet your pocket, and then go for it. But when these students come, they look at the facility, okay, they are good, but we don't have air conditioning here. You don't have television in the room. You don't have all this. So if I provide all this, why should I keep, taking the old price?
Yeah, so you then have to put a bit more. So stay with me. Let me bring in Kofi aside quickly. Kofi, as he's saying there, is the chair of the association in Kumasi, as far as hosts is concerned. It's a free market economy. Why are we even having this conversation? Somebody's private investment into building a hostel facility, he's charging what he believes is fair market price. And yet it's become a big deal. The government has gotten involved. The state has gotten involved with the rent control commissioner. Is that even an issue we should be talking about? We should just leave them and government simply invest in providing the accommodation on the campuses, which is really what the state must do.
Evans, yes, it's a free market economy, but it is a market serving beneficiaries of a product called education, which is a social good. Education, to the extent that it remains a public good, should not be commodified. And so at Edward, we believe that education should be a function of public investment. In order that we are able to meet Sustainable Development Goals 4 by 2030, the state must invest in education to ensure that both the poor and rich are able to equitably access education. That is why, even though there's a free market, because the market is within the education ecosystem, providing an education service or related service, it becomes necessary to have this conversation. But Evans, if you look at the policy landscape, you realize that it is inevitable to have conversations around private sector participation in hostels provisioning. In a country where even secondary education is is boarding as a norm, and so is tertiary. Only about 40% of the 650,000 or so public tertiary students are accommodated on campus. So it tells you the limitation in the capacity of the state to provide accommodation in public tertiary institutions. According to the IMF, Ghana needs up to 5.8% of its GDP to be able to meet the Sustainable Development Goals on education by 2030. Currently, we are spending about 49 billion on education annually. And that's about 3.1% of GDP. And so if you calculate the financing gap, there's about 53% financing gap for education, which means that we need about 52 billion cedis, in addition to the 49 billion we are currently spending this year, to meet education SDGs. That is the amount the government needs to ensure that hostels are available for all tertiary students who want to live on campus. To the extent that there continues to exist a financing gap of about 53% in our education sector, you will continue to have the situation we are having. And so private sector participation is one of the areas that government has explored. Now, within the context of private sector participation, the challenge has always been meeting or creating a nexus between the private interest and then also the public interest. Bear in mind that education is a public good. The private actor is only interested in profit. Private companies are not NGOs. Okay, they are not social investors. Okay, so they invest to make a profit. And so they will only come in on terms that are favorable or make sense to profit. And so what are we seeing? We are many times we are discussing symptoms. We are being too emotive about things that are symptomic, where the actual drivers, are left unaddressed. The reality is that it is not possible. I'm being honest with you. I've finished speaking my Edward side on public education. I'm now coming to the
reality.
The reality, I am a hostels consultant, and I used to invest in hostels, but I stopped because it was bad business for me. Now listen, if you take a loan today of 15 million Ghana cedis, you can build about 400-bed hostel, 100-room hostel, 4 in a room, that's 400-bed hostel around the Legon area. Now, the 15 million cedis that you're going to take from the bank, assuming you get it at an interest rate of 25%, and you want to pay off the loan in about 20 years, okay, your debt servicing annually is going to be around 900,000 Ghana cedis for 20 years. Now, that hostel, I'm not talking about profits. Now, that hostel you have built, your total revenue a year, if you are charging like Commonwealth Hall of Water Hall, it's going to end up being 1.2 million a year. Because you're going to do 3,000 cedis a bed for 4 in a room, that's 12,000 a room, times the 100 rooms, you're going to have 1.2 million a year. If you spend half of that money on utilities, maintenance, and salaries, and other operating expenses, including taxes, and you have 600,000 left as your net operating income, what is going to happen is that 600,000 will not be enough to finance the loan in 20 years because you need 900,000 a year to finance the loan for 20 years. And so, in conclusion, in summary, all I'm saying is that if you took a loan of 15 million today to build a 400-bed hostel and charge like Commonwealth Hall of Water Hall, it will take you 30 years just to finance the loan. You will see your first profit in the 31st year, all other prices remaining constant. Tell me, if you had 15 million, you put your money into this business. If you put this money into bonds, if you get 15% coupon rates, in 10 years, you are getting your 15 million back. In the next 10 years, you are getting another 15 million back. In 30 years, you are going to have 45 million. So the reality is that conversations that seek to build on private sector actors charging public hostel rates are total non-starters because the hostels we want to compare private sector hostels to were not built for profit, one. They were built with our taxes or mainly with IGFs of universities, not commercial loans. And so they can afford to charge $3,000 a year for 4 in a room. But if you create that same environment for a private sector to come and restrict them to charge same or similar, I'm telling you that nobody will come. That is the reason why I'm saying that even though we have a lot of land at the University of Ghana, you have a lot of land at UCC, a lot of land at KNUST, we still have a hostel deficit, of over 300,000.
Because of the cost of putting up those facilities, I guess.
Because it doesn't make business sense. That's it.
Okay, to stay with me, and I'll take a quick break. But before I come down, I want Ms. Ayab to weigh in on that because you represent Greta. Yeah. You had made that point before that the cost of putting up the facilities is too exorbitant. You need to recoup. That is what is forcing it. So, what is the solution?
The reality must be accepted. And as we are saying, look, if we don't make it possible for the private sector to continue to provide, what is going to happen is that there will be no accommodation at all.
Yeah.
And I think that is more dire, more difficult to handle.
And would you say...
Look, I just want to chip in this. The university campuses, the rate at which they give their land to developers is commercial rating. They give you pure commercial rate. Even the universities themselves that need accommodation are doing business with you on business terms. So where do you expect the developer to do charity?
After it's built,
yes.
Secure the loan to build it.
Yes. So you see, sometimes people see structures built like 4 years ago, and they think or they take it that this was built long ago. Oh, why are you charging me so much? You have made your money. It's not true. It's not true. That's not the reality. I told you that we have done simulations where we have used certain indicators, put certain information, projected rent income over a period, put into this data. And it's shocking what you get.
And I think you all came to the same conclusion.
I'm 30-something. He said 30-something too. Yeah. But meanwhile, we have not spoken today.
Yeah.
I know Kofi, but we haven't spoken. But that is the reality. So we must really understand the commercial sense, the commercial business, what people actually put into it. The sentiments, the anger, all of them, we have to manage them. And then understand that is the reality on the ground. As Kofi put it, educational infrastructure should be provided by the state. But we all agree that the state is unable to do that. And because the state is unable to do that, let's look at the private person or the private entities that are providing it and make sure that they are assisted to make it possible to make it available.
Okay, and I will expand on that because we need to now tackle the root cause of the problem.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing the root cause of the problem being the cost of putting up a private hostel accommodation is one.
Yeah.
I'm also seeing this is a service question there that the regulator, that's the rent control, must enforce because of course the service is important. But comment on something quickly before I come back and tackle the big questions about attacking the root cause, which is the bigger question around our housing deficit. And I know, Greta, this is something you've been championing for so long. How does this problem fit into that? Because I have a sense that this is just a tiny part of a bigger problem, that we just simply don't have enough housing units across the country. And so then the specialized area of hostels has become a victim of that bigger problem, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we must be deliberate in our approach. The private entities contact, let's say, universities that have land. Why are the universities not willing to meet the bit of the land halfway and avoid charging commercial rates? First of all, if you put a structure on the university land, after the years, what happens? After the lease period, there were property.
It's a revert to the university, but you can negotiate, of course.
Of course, and then you have a renewal. So they must understand that there must be, at the beginning, there must be a conscious effort from the part of the universities not to demand too much. Maybe they must suspend the commercial rate value part over a period so that they don't have to demand that from the beginning of the infrastructure provision. That can help. We are also, all of us are going onto the commercial market to go and borrow money to develop. Do we have a system where there's some kind of funding available where people can access funding for hostel facilities to not to be the same as the commercial rating. I mean, when the real estate agency, the National Housing Authority, how will I call it, document was enacted, for example, there was this talk about establishing a housing fund. I don't know what has happened to it, but if Get Fund or other funds that are available can support some funding available so that people or private sector people who are participating in provision of hostel can access funding, not the same rate as the commercial rating. It can assist. What about the materials that are used into the production of the housing, especially those that are imported based? Can the government look at, say, reducing taxes on the importation of those materials if it is meant for the accommodation provision? If we don't assist the private developer in some of these things, and he has to do all by himself, go on the commercial borrow, import just like anybody else, bear cost the same as anybody is developing, the reality is that it is not possible to
charge commercial rates.
It's not possible.
I'm going to take a break. When I return, I'll get the Hostel Association rep to weigh in on that solution bit and then also address the service quality. And then the rent, the commissioner will also weigh in on that for me. They have to enforce, but are they factoring in the bit about the cost of first building and operating that facility? And of course, the nukes themselves must have some solutions because there's a fundamental problem there. It's bigger just simply than just paying high. We must have a more rounded approach to this. What is your own thoughts on how this can be resolved fundamentally after this?
Why? What's wrong?
Paper jam.
Introducing Ghana's leading pay-as-you-copy photocopier leasing company. Lease an A4, A3, heavy-duty or production machine and pay for only the copies made or design your own payment plan. Simple and tietia. That's not all. Incredibly, toners, repairs, maintenance, follow-me printing, centralized tracking all come free of charge. Remember, financial prudence is the name of the game. Folks, forget about the expensive gimmicks and be smart. Join the hundreds of satisfied clients across all the 16 regions and every sector of the economy and save over 60% of your printing costs. Visit us at www.valixlease.com or call 0244-644048. Be prudent and lease a copier. Terms and conditions apply. Valix Lease is a wholly owned Ghanaian company. Valix Lease, affordable document management solutions.
Can tee up someone in red. And it goes to
That's who goes for. What 5 tapios? You want to know? I be the real goat.
Who is the goat? Ghana Jollof or Nigerian Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
No, that shit. You two they lie. Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey. You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you here? Forget everybody. Yeah.
My guy.
Put your papa in the jar. Put some respect on the goat.
On the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back to back.
We are talking about PET. I want some Yaji face.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, him be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alomo Bitters always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18, nor recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Northern Ghana is making history. The Ghana Exim Bank and North Shore Apro Ghana Limited proudly invite you to the official opening of Phase 1 of the North Shore Apro Hub, a wholly Ghanaian-owned Apro manufacturing enterprise under the 24-hour economy initiative. Funded by the Ghana Exim Bank and partners, this landmark project will create 3,000 jobs at commissioning and up to 10,000 jobs at full operation. His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama,
will officially commission the facility, joined by the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosue-Jare, and the Chief Executive of the Ghana Exim Bank, Sylvester Adinam Mensah. Date, Friday 28 August 2026, time 12 noon. Venue, North Shore Apro Hub, Sabalugu near Tamale in the Northern Region. Join us as we celebrate Ghanaian enterprise, job creation, and a bold step towards industrial transformation.
So how do you resolve this challenge with accommodation for students across the country? It's been an issue that we've battled with for decades. And then our main solution was to get private sector to assist because government couldn't do it. Private sector is now helping, except that it's also now thrown up a different challenge, pricing and quality. And let me bring in the Rent Commissioner. On the quality side of it, I guess it's very clear. It's enforcing the standards and possibly closing down some. And I saw some of the videos when you went around. It was really deplorable indeed. Those were simply not good enough and could be easily be shut down, right? But when it comes to the price, how do you resolve that? Especially if you want to deal with it and more fundamentally. What's your thinking around how this can be resolved from the rent control point of view?
And fundamentally, for me, my interest is about the law. My interest is the law.
Okay. So how do you enforce the law to solve the problem? What's the approach?
The law is talking about people. Yes, we agree that there are some costs that these investors incur. That is fine. Government, for that matter, the rent control will also want to support them to stay in business, but they must do a clean business.
Unfortunately, his connection isn't helping. Let me quickly get to the chair of the Hostels Association, Bishop. Yes. First of all, if you listen to the rent commissioner, his first thing he wants to do is to do a proper assessment of the hostels across the country, so that they can understand your justification for the pricing. That for those who are exploiting the students, you can have a fix there. Is that something that you will submit yourselves to?
I think that will be very difficult to do because if you read the Rent Act 1963 Act 220, it anticipated the difficulty in doing this. And then also the Rent Control Law 1986, PNDP Law 1318. It is very clear that hotels and other business houses are not under the control of the rent control. When the laws were being enacted, they were thinking about single rooms, well and chamber, that sort of thing. And it's very specific that all purpose business purposes, all premises let for industrial, commercial, business purposes. And those whose rent exceeded 100,000, that is the OCD, per month at the time of the law's commencement, they were out of the control of the rent control. So unless this law is amended, the rent control has no business. It is fixing prices for premises for businesses and commercial purposes and other things. So it is very difficult to stop. We will be going against the law.
Okay.
So if he reads the law himself very well, he will know that premises let for business, commercial, and other such purpose services. They are not under his regulation.
Okay, so I get that point clear. So let's quickly get your bullet points when it comes to solving. Regardless of the concerns you've raised, your customers, students, say they have been exploited. So two things for me. How do you address that problem? Well, how do you propose you address that problem? And you see on your screens here, the rent commissioner went around and really found evidence of hostels that are in deplorable state and still charging students to stay in there. Almost the students don't have a choice, so they're staying there. So something is wrong with the service somewhere, and some are still exploiting students when it comes to price. How do you propose this is resolved?
That is why I said, the students, let them examine the facilities they want to access, make sure they like it, and it goes, the price is commensurate with the services they provide. So they can always have what they want to pay for.
So what you're saying is that demand and supply must dictate which hostels survive based on the choices the students are making. If you don't like it, leave it.
Exactly so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that is a proper capitalist response to the question. Let me get your quick thoughts on solution. He says, first of all, the law, the rent commissioner has no jurisdiction there. That's one. Address that for me very quickly, and then tell me very briefly what the fundamental solution should be to this problem.
Okay. So first of all, I disagree with him.
On the law?
Yeah, on the law, on the point of law, because if you read Section 36, the definition of what premises is, it captures even hostels as well, but it is not expressly mentioned, but it can be read to mean that these are hostels because there are structures and buildings that they take rent for that. So if you read Section 1-2, it says that the Act must be applied to all premises in the country, except that in Section 2, 1B, it lists some exceptions, that which those exceptions, hostels are not part of those exceptions. So I disagree with him on the point of...
How do you resolve the problem at hand then? What's your recommendation from Nooks?
So for my recommendation, I think that the root cause also has to do with the poor transportation system. Because if you look at what is actually happening in Accra, it looks like all of us have been boxed in the center of Accra, within Medina, the main Accra, and then leaving the far places. If we have proper transportation systems, right, if you go far and those places, the prices of rent is actually moderate there. So we must, first of all, deal with the transportation system. Two, we must think about giving incentives to private developers as well. Because if you want to properly regulate the private sector, you must think of remunerating them in terms of tax exemptions. Or maybe the goods and services or the goods that it brings in to build the hostels.
The cost of land.
You must incentivize them as well.
The guy made the point.
Okay. So, and talking about the government promise of partnering with the universities as well, PPP agreement to make sure that they build more hostels, I think this is the time that the government must start acting. The government must honor that promise now. I think that they've started with the 10,000 bed capacity in the University of Ghana. What, as Nooks president, I'm calling on the government to do is that by next year in their budget, Nooks want to see some allocations being made towards building more structures through the PPP agreement in the various universities as well, because 10,000 bed capacity is woefully inadequate to accommodate the rest of the students as well. So the government must also honor that promise of the PPP agreement, but more has to do with giving more incentives
to the private
developers so that we can regulate them properly.
And I'll come and end with the Megaibo, but let me take Kofi Asari's recommendation. Kofi, how do we resolve this really at the root of the problem instead of trying to fix the symptom?
Well, I think the first is that the government will definitely have to increase its investment in education. As I mentioned, the financing gap of 53% for education is wide enough to cause the disruptions in access, affordability that we are having a conversation about. And so government will have to up their game. 3.1% of GDP to education is very low, considering how modernized our secondary and tertiary education is. And so government will have to up their game and increase education budgets to about 4 to 4.5% in the medium term, and by 2030, beyond 5%. So that significant amount of that investment can go into directly building government-owned halls in our tertiary institutions, and then charging consistent with traditional halls rate. That's the first thing. Second is that for PPPs, government will have to consider taking taxes of building materials. Cement has about 20% VAT, NHIL, everything combined. If you take that off cement, you reduce the cost of 20%. And that is very significant in reducing the cost of building, because cement is key. Iron rods, mostly imported. It has VAT, it has other import duties and all that. By the time you clear those taxes, you will be doing in excess of about 30% of it cost down. And so we can use tax as an instrument to significantly reduce the cost of private sector investment in hostels, so that once you are taking off those taxes, okay, you can have negotiations with private sector actors to charge, to have a win-win in terms of the rates, so that they charge a rate that is quite, commensurate with the demand and the financial might of students. I think there are two things that government can consider in the immediate term, or in the immediate and short term. The using taxation to facilitate cost reduction in investment in return for mitigated costs of hostels is something the government will have to consider.
Okay, and Amagaibo?
Yeah, I think Kofi and even him, they've done my job for me by reiterating the fact that government must participate by giving certain incentives. I also think that government should not be focusing on price fixing regulation, but it should focus on the standards and quality of the.
So the rent commissioner should focus there?
Yes, they should focus more on the quality of the service and the quality of the facilities that are being given, and leave the pricing for the market to determine that. If they enter pricing determination for developers, it will drive the private sector away.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll see what happens with the 10,000 unit that government plans to build, and what the scalability is across the country. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
That's right. Did you see that? That is me. Without me, that type of just decoration.
That's so. So when the water comes, where exactly is it waiting? Pipe. I also didn't only be doing one on all. Me tank. Me na me cra.
At least I move water.
And I keep it safe.
Without me, nothing flows.
What's happening?
I bring the life.
I preserve it.
Hey, why is the water going on and off like this? Maybe I can do it alone.
Maybe I need you too.